All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome to our brand new podcast, For Nerds Sake. I'm your host, Bryt, and with my co-host over here, Maul.
How you doing today?
This is our first of many future podcasts. We are going to be talking about a lot of things such as Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Marvel, DC, video games, anime, you name it. Anything nerd, we are going to talk about it here, or anything that we kind of know about. We'll be talking about here. We'll be throwing on future guests, topics that kind of bridge the gap between the anime medium, nerd medium, and real life. Just anything that we have any interest in. So today, Maul, how have you been and what's going on?
I've been doing really well. The only really thing I've been thinking about that's in our topics is the new Pokemon game that's coming out. Cannot wait for it. Been looking at the leaks every day.
So, what do you hear about the new Pokemon leaks?
Well, I know the name of the region is going to be the Palela region. I think it's how you pronounce it. I could be wrong.
I think it was Paldea, right?
Paldea, that's what it is. Yeah, you're right. Paldea. But yeah, we've got through the leaks, we've gotten to see a few of the new Pokemon. We know the starters, obviously, Sprigatito, Fuecoco, and Quaxley. Sprigatito's going to be the best one. Just saying.
Nah, Quaxley gang. Where my Quaxley people at?
Whatever.
All right. If you guys have seen the new Pokemon Scarlet and Violet trailers, let us know what you think about it. When I first saw it, it didn't really show too much other than the new mechanic, which is basically hidden power. So it just got rid of hidden power just to reintroduce it as a mechanic, which is not a problem. But seeing that hidden power was like a big competitive move, and them just getting rid of it later on in generations to come, or generations later on, and to see it just kind of get rebranded as the new what was it called, Terra Crystals and the
Terralization.
Terralization. That's what
Yeah,
it's
that
called.
Terralization where they get the cool hats or crowns. I think they're called crowns.
Yeah, the crowns. I'm not really a big fan of it. I like the crystallization. I could do without the hats. If I was to change it, just to tweak it a little bit, I would take the symbol. If you've seen the symbol when it like the six pointed star, I would take it to where it kind of acts as like a halo of some sort, not directly overhead, but kind of like a backdrop or like a giant what are those called? Sigils, with the sigils with the flags on them. Kind of like that, but like an aura to it. And it just stays there, and the top 3 points would become those crowns that you would see on their head, but it would just be the top 3 points of the sigil for them. It just remains there for like the remainder of the battle. I think that would be cooler, in my personal opinion, but it's already set in stone, and we'll just have to deal with putting on silly hats for our menacing Pokemon once they get to that point.
Yeah, everybody wants their grass type Pokemon to have a giant flower coming off their head, or their water types to have a giant fountain on the top of their skull.
Or a giant chandelier. Yo, if Chandelure is in the game and I Terrastalize with the double chandelier, I can't wait to see that. They better put Chandelure in the game. That's one of my favorite fire ghost types, or fire. My favorite fire or favorite ghost? Which one do I like more? I think my favorite ghost type. One of my favorite ghost types. I can't wait to see who they add. I can't wait to hear more about these leaks. So, have you seen any leaks that you can share with us?
Yeah, so the newest leaks are going to be that. So, obviously, it's a story-driven game like all the past Pokemon games, but this one's going to be more open world. But you don't really unlock the freedom aspect of open world until about 2 hours into gameplay. So the first 2 hours are all going to be tutorial, catching, like how to catch Pokemon. Going to be all the other NPCs, like your friends, the professors, all that. You unlock Koraidon and Miraidon as basic ride, traveling, and jumping after the first 2 hours, but they can't be added to your party until post-game. Which I'm not exactly sure how I feel about that, because I don't like the idea of getting the Legendaries right off the bat like that.
Honestly, at this point, I don't really care. I know some people are upset on how Legendaries have become in the game, but really, there was nothing really differentiating them other than that they were probably on the box, and sometimes you would just run into them or chase them around the region. But I like how we change the game and we bridge the gap between Pokemon or people and Pokemon, especially Legendaries.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, yeah.
I don't get upset when like they had a Kubfu evolve. I was like, he can't be legendary. Like at first I was like, he can't be legendary. He can evolve. But but so can Solgaleo and Lunala. But it kind of made sense why they evolved. It's because they're not really from this dimension. So to us, legendaries, but to them, they're just average, probably average. So I like the change of it. Do I like the idea of them being, or the way they look when you ride them? No, I think the fan arts did a way better job at doing that. Especially for was it Kuridon, the future one? Some of his fan arts were really cool, where he had just this one Uniwheel and these thrusters in the back.
No, that's Miradon.
That's Miradon?
Yeah, okay, Kuridon's the one that just runs, even though he's a giant wheel on his chest.
Yeah, I heard it was flotation devices, but what's the point of it being there when he's running? I prefer him to run, or he could just, turn his chest into a tire. I don't care. It's Pokemon. It's not supposed to be taken seriously. Some of these Pokemon anatomies don't even make sense.
We have one that's a ball. We have one that's a battery. It's, at this point, it doesn't really matter what they do with them.
Like walking trash bag. Like
a walking trash bag, yeah.
Yeah, but Diglett anatomy doesn't make any sense.
True.
Sorry, I'm chewing right now. But Diglett's anatomy does not make any sense whatsoever. But we still love it. I am hyped for the new forms of Pokemon that we're getting. I heard they were called Proto or Neon forms or Neo forms.
Proto and Neo, I want to say. Like Neo forms for future and Proto forms for the past forms.
I heard someone simplify it as a Paradox Pokemon.
Paradox, yes, that's what it is.
I like that the name. It just fits both of them. I cannot wait. I want Paradox Jigglypuff so bad.
Actually, there is a leaked photo of Paradox Jigglypuff.
I gotta see that. I remember it having like fangs or something.
Yeah, it's like it's a fairy dark type. I want to say it might lose the fairy type. I know it's dark type. It has the fangs, as bright yellow eyes. If I remember correctly, it might have had like a cape, like a vampire looking Jigglypuff, I guess. But I could be wrong on the whole cape thing. But I remember it had fangs and yellow eyes.
If I catch that, you already know what I'm going to name it. I'm going to definitely name it Hungry Box. If you guys don't know, Hungry Box is a Jigglypuff main who's popular in the Smash community, primarily Smash Bros. Melee. And yeah, he always plays Jigglypuff. Like he's the best Jigglypuff player ever. Because, I think he said it himself. He wasn't really good with good characters. He was just good with gimmicky characters. And Jigglypuff is a very gimmicky character, so that's why he plays Jigglypuff. So I'm definitely going to name my Jigglypuff Hungry Box.
Yeah, and on the Paradox Pokemon, there are going to be 7 in Violet, which are the past Pokemon, and 7 in Scarlet, which are the future Pokemon. And that doesn't include Suicune or Virizion. Those 2 are going to be saved for DLC, one in each game. Not sure which one's going to be which, though.
I would love to see that. I would love to have a Paradox Volcarona. One of my favorite bug types ever. Volcarona's fire.
That'd be pretty cool.
I heard he gets 2. I heard Tyranitar gets 1. I'm really hoping for Paradox Salamence. I think that's going to be in Scarlet. I'm really hoping to get a good Salamence. Because honestly, I don't really like Salamence as a dragon type. Or as a Pokemon, I really don't like it that much.
What do you mean you don't like Salamence as a dragon type? He's literally he looks like he is a dragon.
Well, when I mean dragon, I mean like as a pseudo. First of all, as a dragon, period. It just doesn't look cool to me. He's too bright, in my opinion.
That's fair.
A dragon, and then on top of that, this Mega sucks. And I would just, when I looked at Salamence, I just was never really hyped. Like at first, I was like, "Oh, this is really cool," but over time, when I saw Garchomp and even Goodra, in my opinion, I like Goodra a little bit better because it's derpy, it's silly. I just wasn't a big fan of Salamence, honestly. But if his Paradox form looks good, if he does get a Paradox form, hopefully so, I will definitely cherish that more than his original form. But speaking of Pokemon I don't like, that new Ice-type Pokemon, Titan, disgusting. Kill it with fire. Kill it with fire. Extreme prejudice towards that Pokemon. I do not like Titan. That's one of the new Pokemon that's coming out in this game, and it's just a freaking land well.
I think it has one of the dumbest designs they've ever done for Pokemon.
And a lot of people seem to like it, and I absolutely hate it. It's I think it's the Gym Leader's Ace.
Probably.
And if I can fight that gym leader first, I will, and I will definitely be beating.
Oh, it's been confirmed that you could take on the gyms in any order.
Is it still just a rumor that the levels do not scale?
That's still, I don't think it's been, I could be wrong, but I don't think it's been confirmed yet whether they are scaling or not scaling. I hope they do, because what's the point of taking on the gyms in any order if I go to the ice type gym and I with my level 5 Sprigatito and they have a level 50 Satitan?
Yeah, I believe that's his name. Yeah, I hope they do scale. Um, it would I wouldn't be surprised if Pokemon did that. They always decide to find something. I think they go out of their way to ruin something. Because I heard a rumor that the EXP share cannot be turned off. Yet again, even though that was a feature that you could turn it off. I believe it was in Pokemon Go that you could turn it off if you wanted to.
I liked it better in the older games where you can only put the EXP share on one Pokemon instead of having divided between the whole party.
Yeah, I don't understand why they, changed that.
We should just be able to have the option to have it off the entire party or have it on just one single Pokemon.
Whatever, they should just have the option to turn it off anyway if they want to go for the entire party.
Oh yeah.
Like in Sword and Shield, I knew that if I didn't have that EXP share, that game would have actually been a lot harder. Especially when I got to the 8th gym, I was like, bro, I was literally struggling to because our teams are not built for double battles for the 8th gym. I was literally struggling. So hopefully it can be turned off. If it's not, I'm still going to be very upset. But as long as the game is 10 times better than Sword and Shield, which should not be hard to do, I will enjoy that game. So
yeah, along with the leaks, there are some older generation Pokemon that are getting new evolutions, which is pretty cool. Primeape is getting a new evolution that is going to be fighting ghost type. I'm really looking forward to that.
Explain how he becomes a ghost type.
So the Pokédex entry for the evolution of Primeape leaked. I'm pretty sure we don't know his name yet or what he looks like, but the way he evolves, I'm not sure how they're going to do it in the game, but the Pokédex entry says he evolves that because he gets so angry he just dies. So he just becomes an angry ghost, I guess. Another Pokemon getting an evolution is going to be Dunsparce, which that's pretty cool, I think. I think it says still staying normal type. He's not getting a second typing with his evolution.
Unfortunate, but okay.
And then Girafarig is getting an evolution as well, which is also just staying psychic.
I seen the leak, so that's pretty cool. Love to see Girafarig get love. A lot of the Johto Pokemon are trash. So seeing some of the Johto Pokemon actually get some love is pretty cool.
Oh, I also have the list of who the ancient Paradox Pokemon are going to be and the future Paradox Pokemon are going to be. The ancient Pokemon are going to be Donphan, Volcarona, Amoonguss.
Donphan?
Yeah, Donphan, yeah. Jigglypuff, Misdrevious, Magneton, Salamence, and Suicune, but Suicune's going to be DLC. And for future Paradox, there's going to be also Donphan, also Volcarona. It says Galivore, but I think it's meant to be Gardevoir. Hariyama, Delibird, the one of the pseudos that we don't know the name of yet, and Tyranitar is getting a future Paradox, and then Virizion, but DLC. But yeah, future Tyranitar.
Definitely good one. Tyranitar is one of the best pseudos, but it's slow. It's like in the anime, definitely an underrated pseudo. It's always just like fodder for like fights and stuff. Definitely deserves more love. If I was a champion for my pseudo Pokemon, it would definitely be like Tyranitar. One of them. It'd probably be Tyranitar. I really like it. So, love to see that it's getting love in the games. Anything else so far for our Pokemon news?
The only thing I can think of is the new regional forms. There's only going to be 4 regional Pokemon in this game that are different to their they're all is Wooper Cantonian or is he from Johto?
I believe it doesn't matter, honestly.
Oh. Well, it's going to be Wooper. We already know he is going to be a ground poison type. And then the other 3 are going to be all Tauros. So we're going to have 4 different Tauros. We're going to have the Cantonian Tauros. We're going to have a fighting type Tauros, a fire type Tauros, and a water type Tauros.
Really?
Yeah. Tauros is going to have 4 different forms in this game.
Okay, that's cool and all. I remember very, very, very early on, the moment we saw the initial trailers for Scarlet and Violet when they were doing leaks for regional forms, Tauros was said to be one of 3 bull Pokemon to obtain original form. So I remember that it was going to be a Dark Tauros, then it was going to be a Fighting Buffalant, I believe, and a Fairy Miltank.
I mean, that would be pretty cool. I mean, although I'm not the biggest fan of Milk Tank, but
yeah, I'm pretty sure you're not. A lot of people are not, but I would love to have another degenerate Pokemon on my team. A Fairy Miltank would be amazing. It's incredibly fast and incredibly bulky, and you give it the Fairy type. Oh, it's a broken Pokemon. Automatically OU. And a lot of people's worst nightmare. I would love that, but Game Freak knows the monster that they created, and they're trying to hold it back. So it's up there with Mewtwo in terms of strength. So yeah, so no regional forms, at least not yet. Maybe he'd get one in the DLC. If he does, I would love that as well. But anything else from the news, or
should we not that I can think of at the moment.
So moving on, we are at Marvel, everyone's favorite franchise-altering company, and they have just released She-Hulk. And from what I've been hearing, She-Hulk has been pretty good for its first few episodes that it came out. My friends, after watching the first episode, thought it was pretty good, even though he was not anticipating or excited for the show. Now, I can't wait to watch it for myself, so I'm not going to really go into what's going on in the show. But I am going to talk about what I was told, that her origin did get changed, which I am not really much of a fan of, and we could talk about more of Marvel's altering of source material here. So, in the comics, She-Hulk's origin, so she is a lawyer, and obviously the cousin of Bruce Banner, and one of her comics in her origin, she was prosecuting a mafia or gang member, and they sent a hit out on her, and one day shot her in an attempt to kill her. But fortunately for her, she survived, but she needed a blood transfusion, and being that there was no one else compatible at the time, her cousin Bruce had to give her a blood transfusion, in turn giving her the powers of Hulk.
See, now, that's a good origin story. It makes sense. It's coherent. I like that.
Love that too. So from what I heard from the show, she obtains her powers from an open wound that she got in a car accident with her cousin Bruce, and that's how she becomes Hulk. She-Hulk. Definitely a downgrade. Definitely a downgrade. I mean, the overall message of her getting it through his blood, yes, but as the reasons as to why just kind of seems a little bit weak. Maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe I still need to watch the show, but I'm not really a fan of it, and I'm not really a fan of Marvel changing some of the source materials that they're using. I remember earlier in Marvel's lifetime, it made a little bit more sense. They had a lot more restrictions, such as Tony Stark being the one to create Ultron, as opposed to the actual comic version being Ant-Man who created Ultron. But since Ant-Man was not introduced yet, it made more sense for Tony, the next smartest person, to do so. But now we are not there anymore, and there's no real reason to alter certain characters. I mean, I was not a big fan of Miss Marvel. Well, I didn't watch the show because I didn't want to watch it, but I was not a big fan of Miss Marvel being confirmed a mutant in the show. Now, in the comics, she's an Inhuman, but originally she was supposed to be a mutant, which some people come to her defense saying she was supposed to be a mutant, but they made her an Inhuman. And if they made her an Inhuman, why not just keep making her an Inhuman? It makes Inhumans actually look cool, because first of all, we don't have the Inhumans in the MCU yet, other than the cameo in Doctor Strange. And two, Inhumans are just not cool, honestly, except for Miss Marvel. I also didn't like how they changed her powers because it was too similar to Reed Richards. Her powers are too similar to Captain Marvel, which low-key does kind of make sense because she does love Captain Marvel, but her powers are just different. Like, she doesn't have these powers naturally, I believe. They come from a bracelet. Versus her just happening to inhale Terrigen Mist, which gives her powers. In the comics, her story for having powers are a lot better. I still didn't watch the show, so I'm not sure if this story beat is still there. But in the comics, Maul, when she inhales the Terrigen Mist, she becomes a polymorph, meaning that she can shapeshift and increase her size and mass in various ways, which is much cooler than Reed Richards just being able to stretch his body. She can stretch, shapeshift into anything she wants, increase the mask, make mallets. She's basically Jake the dog, but a human. Think about that.
See, that would have been that would have been cool. I would have been enticed to watch it, and after I didn't even watch it. I'm you know me, I'm a big Marvel fan. Wasn't enticed to watch it.
So another thing about the comics, she would always like transform into Miss Marvel because one, that's her favorite hero, and two, when she felt like she transformed into Miss Marvel, she actually felt accepted or beautiful. And her being an ethnic woman, I believe of Indian or I'm completely wrong on this. I will definitely check and see what her true ethnicity is. But when she transformed into Miss Marvel, she was a Caucasian white woman and she felt more accepted or beautiful. But eventually she realized that she was more beautiful in her own skin and decided to become someone more of herself and stop trying to turn into somebody that she is not, which I really like. And I really think that is pretty cool for people learning to accept themselves instead of trying to be someone else that they're not, or the standard of beauty, which is something that's pretty big in today's society for a lot of non white women who don't feel as beautiful because they're not considered the standard of beauty. And just having that as a character, especially for one that is under Marvel, which is under Disney, should be important to put out there. But I'm not sure if it's out there or not. If it is, let us know. But yeah, I kind of wish that was her still power set and or origin as well. What is Miss Marvel's ethnicity? I had a very hard time. Kamala Khan, Miss Marvel, is a Muslim Pakistani American. Yes, so yes, Muslim Pakistani. There we go. Sorry, I had to correct that. But other than that, another change that I actually think is pretty good and not terrible is Marvel's Black Panther. They are changing Namor, which is going to be the antagonist in this movie. Namor is, I didn't even know this, is originally Greek.
So, see, I didn't even know they were bringing Namor into the MCU. I didn't know he was going to be the antagonist of this movie.
Yeah, so if you watch the Black Panther trailer, which made me cry.
Actually, I have not seen it.
So it's fine. But when you do go and see it, you will see glimpses of Namor. So Namor is originally Greek, or Greek Mesopotamian, I believe so. I'm not sure if anyone has a problem with it, but yeah, he's supposed to be originally Greek, which does, in my opinion, come up with a few problems, being that since he is an Atlantean and also being Greek, that also means that there is the Greek gods as well, which did show up. I believe Zeus showed up in the Thor and Love and Thunder movie, which didn't watch, didn't care, honestly, didn't think it was going to do good. People didn't like it.
Exactly. That's the main reason I didn't see it either. Didn't entice me. Thor was not. I don't think Thor should have been the first Marvel hero to get a fourth movie, just because from what I've heard about it, like you said, people didn't like it. Is probably just really unnecessary.
Yeah, I heard it was just not as funny. It was trying to recapture Ragnarok, but it was not as funny. Thor just felt dumber than originally thought. What stopped me from going to watch it was that female Thor, or Jane Foster, I thought that she existed out of a paradox because there's no possible way she should exist in the same realm as Thor. Maybe she's a different alternate version of him, or a paradox, because when Captain America went back in time after the end of Endgame to return the Thor's hammer and the Infinity Stones, he didn't come back right away. He decided to spend the rest of his life with Peggy Carter instead, and he just showed up as an old man, which I would have thought, a paradox of some kind would have.
Well, yeah, because if he stayed in the past, that means he wouldn't have been there for the Ultron fight. He wouldn't have originally been there to fight Thanos. So obviously there has to be a paradox there somewheres.
Yeah, I know how, like, in the movie they did explain how time worked, where like you do something and it branches off into another timeline. But even then, I've heard people who call it a plot hole saying that the movie doesn't even follow its own time logic. And since time is such an interesting concept and MacGuffin to use in stories, honestly, I would not care if what I just said or what I thought should have happened didn't make sense, because they didn't make sense in their own movie, and they put it out and made millions. So I'm doing this for free. But But I thought after that would have happened, some sort of event would have occurred, like in Thor, and it would have made more sense in Thor. Well, I'll get there in a second. But anyway, so Jane Foster is the same Jane Foster, and the reason why she has Thor's hammer is because she was able to reassemble the original Mjolnir from its broken state from Ragnarok, and was able to gain the powers of Thor. Which, when I heard that, made zero sense because the hammer was destroyed.
And the one thing I'm not getting is, in order to wield the hammer, you have to be worthy. What has Jane done to prove that she's worthy of holding the hammer?
Maybe they explain it in the movie. Don't know. Don't care.
Exactly.
Because her being able to hold the hammer makes zero sense. Because it was destroyed. And if she was able to reassemble the hammer and use the powers of Thor, then why couldn't Thor just reassemble his hammer in Ragnarok and use it against Hela?
True.
Anyways.
So getting off Thor. So I say getting off Thor, just so the viewers or the listeners know, who would you say is your favorite Marvel hero or villain if you're into the villains? But who would you say is your favorite Marvel hero so they know who we're biased towards?
My favorite Marvel hero? I mean, Spider-Man, but everybody loves Spider-Man. But outside of Spider-Man, I would probably say like Black Panther. He just seems pretty cool, obviously. I cannot wait to see Black Panther 2. Yeah, pretty much Spider-Man. Or it's probably be an X-Men character.
That's fair. I hope they do more of the X-Men. Like, I love that they're bringing the Fantastic Four into the MCU now, and I cannot wait to see that movie. And I hope they do good with it. The last one was trash, but I hope they do better with the X-Men and Fantastic Four.
Speaking of Fantastic Four and going back to Black Panther, is a rumor that Doctor Doom will be in Black Panther as well. Maybe not as a main character. Maybe he might do a Thanos and show up at the end. Knowing it's Doctor Doom, one of the biggest bads in the Marvel Universe, he probably might show up at the end. And going back to my original point about Namor's character change from Greek to he's an Aztec in the movie of Black Panther 2, which I like that change. It gives it a little bit more culture to it. Not saying Greek doesn't have culture, but it doesn't have the same flair as an Aztec culture would, because they often use less clothing, but they also often are more primitive in their depictions of Atlanteans, like in the comics, and they often wear a lot of gold in the Aztec and Mayan cultures, which they did mention in the original Black Panther that Ulysses Claw, he was the guy who was able to sneak in and out of Wakanda, talked about a golden city called El Dorado, and that's probably what's going to be the Atlanteans' like surface home, being El Dorado, or their version of El Dorado in the movie. So I can't wait to see that. But X-Men characters and X-Men movies, moving on to phases 5 and 6 in the MCU, which is to come. What are you hoping to see, Maul?
Like I said before, I'm really hoping they do well with the Fantastic Four movie. The original two, amazing. I think it was 2015 the remake was. The first remake. That movie was terrible. I hated it. I really do hope they introduce more of the X-Men. I would love to see some more Cyclops. Obviously, everybody would want to see Wolverine, but Hugh Jackman, I don't think would be redoing his role as Wolverine. So I'd like to see if they do introduce Wolverine into the MCU, they would have to make a amazing choice of who they choose to play him.
Yeah, make him a short king too, for my short people out there.
Yes, sir.
Because Wolverine, if you guys don't know, don't let Hugh Jackman fool you. Wolverine is supposed to be 5'3".
Just like you.
I'm 5'3".
I'm taller than you.
Bro, I'm literally taller than you.
Whatever.
I'm literally.
Okay. Whatever.
Anyways, speaking of lesser properties, DC has finally, if you guys have not heard, this probably came out about 2-3 weeks ago. DC has finally decided to start their own cinematic universe with a 10-year plan, like Marvel.
That's bold. That's bold for DC doing a 10-year plan.
it's been so long as a huge DC fan to finally find a competent person to say we're gonna finally actually do things the proper way.
See, I
Because
don't really
Warner
know much
Brothers,
about DC, so that like I didn't really get into DC stuff for the last maybe year or so. So I don't know.
yeah,
But just
finally,
knowing, right after they put the 10-year plan into motion, that the Flash immediately just started running off and doing whatever he wanted to do.
he was already
Ironically,
doing that before, but he definitely doubled down on it.
it's just I don't know. They're being really bold at coming out with a 10-year plan.
It's not, it's not their fault that he who should not be named is a criminal. Um, Also, she who should not be named is a domestic abuser. And Jason Momoa, I even heard that he was going through troubles, not, you know, criminally. His divorce kind of came through, and he was like, I guess, sleeping in trailers or something.
Oh, I forgot about
sure.
that.
Yeah, so we're still holding on, DC. But as somebody who wasn't really a DC fan growing up, for what you've seen, what do you like most about DC?
Well, my first introduction into the DC universe was a lot of the CW shows, like The Flash, Arrow, Supergirl, I think was also one of them. And when The Flash first came out, I really loved it. And Arrow, I enjoyed also. But that was really my first introduction. Then when the Justice League movie came out, that was when I was like, okay, this is actually pretty decent. And actually, I was reading some of the comics. And I don't even know how to explain it. Just from what I've seen, I like it, and I hope they do good. And there's certain characters I want to see brought into the movies that they haven't introduced yet, but I know those characters are going to be farther down the road.
What characters do you wish to see?
Red Hood. I want to see Red Hood so bad, but I don't even think in the Justice League and like this era DC, I don't even think we have Robin yet.
Yeah, I don't think we'll be seeing Robin anytime soon. Maybe in the 10-year plan, but that's probably going to be like maybe 3 to 5. Trying to lowball it out of hope.
Because we're gonna get young Robin, who eventually has turned to Nightwing, and then we have to get Jason Todd, have him die. They have another movie with a third Robin, and then have another movie where Jason Todd comes back as Red Hood. There's gonna be at least 4 movies.
Yeah, it would probably just have to be like a Batman Robin series, honestly.
That's true.
To kind of speed up that process, but DC finally decided to make the plan. I did hear because DC is under Warner Brothers, and a lot of things are under Warner Brothers as well, especially HBO Max. And because their merger with Discovery, I'm not sure like Discovery Channel, but Discovery, it had just recently came out as of August 17th in a Verity article. They said that HBO Max is set to remove 36 titles, including 20 originals from their streaming service. And just hearing that confuses me as to why 20 of your originals will be getting removed. Mostly, you never want to remove your originals. You want to keep them there because that's going to entice people to want to buy your service. But let's read a piece of this article from Verity. So, HBO Max will remove 36 titles from its service as early as this week. Wow. The Verity has confirmed that. A spokesperson for HBO Max attributed the decision to the pending merge of the platform with Discovery Plus, which is also owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, which is what it probably be called now. And here is a quote. As we work towards bringing our content catalog together under one platform, we will be making changes to the content offerings available on both HBO Max and Discovery Plus. HBO Max's statement reads that will include the removal of some content from both platforms. What do you think after hearing that?
I don't even know what shows they would get rid of, because like a lot of their original shows, at least the big ones, people really enjoy. And I haven't watched anything on HBO Max in a while, but like I know like a lot of the shows people enjoyed.
I think I have a list. It was somebody on Instagram who does like a lot of cartoon content or like reposting a lot of old cartoon clips. I believe that CN News and slash schedules, he took a screenshot. And here are some of the shows that will be being removed. So shows leaving HBO Max this week. English, goodness. Aquaman, King of Atlantis. I believe that is an HBO original. It's like probably like a slapstick show cartoon of Aquaman. Close enough. When I read that, my eyes like widened. If you guys don't know what Close Enough is, if you ever watch a regular show, J.G. Quintel, he is the creator of regular show, and he's the one who made the Close Enough original for HBO Max. He's also the voice of Mordecai in Mordecai and Rigby, and Close Enough is basically the adult version of regular show, just with humans and crazy events that you would normally see in regular show.
See, so that was one of the shows I was actually surprised about, just because like that seemed like I always see clips of that show circling around, so it seemed like people really liked it. So I don't know why they're getting rid of it.
Yeah, I have yet to watch more episodes of Close Enough, but seeing that is kind of heartbreaking to see, because I'm pretty sure that show is extremely successful, and it's a regular show. The creator of regular show, which everybody who's been on Cartoon Network have seen and loved. Dodo, don't know what that show is. Elliot from Earth, Esme and Roy, The Fungies, Infinity Train. Now I've heard about this on Cartoon Network. I heard that show got canned on Cartoon Network despite being a really good show, but Cartoon Network is just falling off. So
true.
Little Ellen, Mao. I believe that's the show with the warrior cat named Mao. Messi Goes to Okido, Mia's Magic Playground, Mighty Magiswords, another Cartoon Network show. I think all these shows are Cartoon Network shows.
I've heard of like 3 of these so far.
And OKKO. So these are for the Cartoon Network series. I heard that Sesame Street will be losing over 200 or nearly 200 episodes on HBO Max. So
well, to be fair, Sesame Street's been around for a long time. At one point, we had to be like, okay, we've had enough Sesame Street.
But it's just being shown on the streaming service. I'm pretty sure they're still on their original channels, but removing 200 episodes of children's content from one show. Maybe it's the older ones. I'm not sure specifically. Maybe it's the older
probably
ones.
Just because like episodes that came out that talking about stuff that happened in 2000 to like 2010, the kids who are watching Sesame Street now wouldn't really get what's going on in those older episodes. Like if a kid who's like 4, 5, 6 watches it now and they're seeing an adult on that show opening up a flip phone, they're not gonna know what that is.
Yeah. Plus, kids probably just watch Cocomelon.
That's true.
So, yeah, that is pretty much it for the merger on things that I've read. I didn't want to read the rest of the article, but if you guys want to look on Verity, you can look at the article for yourselves. But I do hope DC does a really good job with their universe. I personally would like them to start with the Matt Reeves Batman universe, or what I would call the verse, which is full of Earth 2 variants of characters, and they just go from there. And they just kind of make 2 to 3 movies of those characters just in their own solo universe, and then just kind of bind them together like how Marvel did. But not as fast as Marvel set it up. But, it's a 10-year plan, so they probably would have to work a little faster. A lot of DC movies are not going to be going forward in development because, in my honest opinion, we don't need a Batgirl movie. Unfortunately, Blue Beetle might get canned. Sorry.
Blue Beetle, I remember seeing Blue Beetle in Batman Beyond, the animated show. I always thought he had one of the coolest powers in DC. Well, his was just a suit, but still.
His suit was awesome, though.
Oh, yeah, it was. He could just transform his hands into the giant, like, mallets and all that. He was in Injustice 2, he was my main.
I forgot he was in Injustice 2. I've not played Injustice 2 in a minute.
It's been a while for me.
Hopefully they make it Injustice 3. But, yes, so that is pretty much it I'll talk about for today. Maybe in a future podcast or next podcast, I'll talk more about the DC verse or what I would want for the verse, and specifically what I would put in for the next movies for that verse. But moving forward, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Take it away, Maul. So what do you got to say about Yu-Gi-Oh? I know you're getting your cards in the mail soon.
Yeah, I'm waiting on 6 more of my cards for the deck I'm going to be using in the tournaments we're going to be going to soon. I got all of them but those 6, and they're like maybe like 2 days late at this point, so I'm going to have to check to see when they're coming in. But the main thing I'm like annoyed with Yu-Gi-Oh right now is the status of Master Duel. I don't think they're put. Yeah, always has something wrong with Master Duel, but I don't think they're putting enough love into the game right now. Like they're coming out with another game. If you remember the title of it, I don't.
Yeah, was it like Cross Duel?
Cross Duel, yeah. They play a card in that game, and there's fully 3D animated monsters coming onto the field and all that. I was like, when I first saw that, I got annoyed, and I was talking to one of my buddies at work who also plays, and I showed it to him, and me and him were talking, and he just goes, Master Duel is supposed to be their big Yu-Gi-Oh game that gets players back into the game or gets new players into it. And why develop another Cross Duel game, which is only 4-player? You can only 1v1 4 other people at once. Why not put what you did for that game into Master Duel? How cool would it be if you could get into Master Duel and I play Dark Magician and a little 3D animated Dark Magician comes up and actually does his animation attacks and all that? What is the point?
As a mate in the corner.
Yeah, as the mate in the corner, but they haven't added new mates since the game began. Maybe they've added like 2.
They added Scapegoat, they added Instafusion, they added Trishula Dragon, and then they added a few more like one of the Dragon Maids.
Okay, but still,
they have like I mean I know you haven't played it in a while. I do kind of play here and there, and by here and there maybe once every 3 weeks, maybe I'm not sure, but in due time, I think they just kind of got overzealous, if I'm using that word properly, with creating more and more mobile or online Yu-Gi-Oh content, because they're really starting to realize that people are tired of playing on these simulators, and they really want to play official Yu-Gi-Oh, like official rules sometimes.
See, that's another thing I don't get. Why have the TCG rules in the OCG rules? Because if I make a deck on Master Duel, and then I want to make it into a real one I can use in actual tournaments. So, like in Master Duel, 1 card can be normal, and then a TCG, it's limit 2. Why not just have them both be the same? So if you make it, you can test decks on the online game, and then you can actually bring them to actual tournaments and stuff like that. I don't understand why they have different rules.
But I think because I think this is like an idealistic format for them, to where they can have OCG and TCG on one playing ground. We do primarily follow the OCG ban list and OCG format, which is actually a little different than what we have. I believe how chaining cards work is different in the OCG versus the TCG. So that's one of the differences. I'm not familiar with OCG as much, but and then they're playing in a dual setting, so it's only a best of 1, not a best of 2 matchup. Or a best of 3, my bad, or a best of 3 type duel. But I heard in competitive tournaments that they will have a best of 3 system, which I would like to see. I didn't really like their release schedule for certain cards. How certain cards would have came out 3 years ago in real life, but they're yet to be added to the game. And cards that literally came out 3 months ago would just get added quickly, like the agent cards. Like the agent cards got added in immediately. The new support got added in immediately, and I was still waiting for Legendaries to drop. And I'm like, Legendaries came out way before the new agent support, and this is how you guys are going to do it? So I'm like, all right, whatever.
Some of the choices they make just don't make sense, and that's the part that annoys me the most.
Yeah. So, but they are doing their Duelist Cup, which should be ending, I believe, this Sunday. I've barely been playing it because I've been barely playing Master Duel. You know,
I think it's been about a good month since I opened that game.
Yeah, for me with Master Duel, I always get too happy on creating a new deck, and then I kind of get tired of it halfway through. It's the way you play in Master Duel. Almost any deck can get you to Diamond in the game, or at least Platinum. And like people are getting the Platinum with Blue Eyes. That was one of the popular decks when it first came out.
When that game first came out, everybody was playing Blue Eyes.
Oh my goodness, everybody was playing. That was so annoying. But pretty much any deck can get you there. Like decks that are not good in the TCG are good in this game because they have certain cards or they just play it differently. I believe the new deck they added was Bee Troopers, which I heard that deck is kind of very bad / unplayable in the TCG. But in Master Duel, it's one of the best decks right now. It's one of the best decks in Master Duel. I think it's because they can search Max C or probably some other factors, but it works so much better. I don't understand how, but if it works, it works. So
yeah, going on any deck can get you to platinum. The last season I played in, I was maybe 1 or 2 games away from platinum, and I was using a burn deck.
yeah, I haven't even touched platinum in a minute because I just get I just get bored halfway through.
Because
Some
you come
people,
across the same kinds of decks every time. Every other player is either Eldic, or you still come across the Blue Eyes players, and it's just it's the same things over and over. You get burnt out.
yeah, it's easy to burn out playing this game. I do like how they made the game faster with the animations. Like if I have to search certain cards or something like that, that used to really hinder me playing the game a lot. Because when I played Adamantipator, you need to reveal or excavate the top cards of your deck every time you want to try to summon, and the excavation was so slow. Like I would play like 2-3 games and I'd win both and I'd just be done for the day. But the effort it takes to just put up with your opponent, even taking their sweet time to just set one and pass, is annoying. But it's a little different when you get up higher in tiers. Some people are trying extremely hard. They're playing all the multiple negate cards, and yeah, so there's that. But if me, right, Bryt, if I had the chance to create my own Yu-Gi-Oh series slash mechanic, uh, I would call it Hyper Duel. And the only reason why I call it Hyper Duel is because my idea for a Yu-Gi-Oh series uh, would take after like 5Ds or Vrains, where you duel on like a motorcycle or a bike. You ready to hear this, Maul?
No, not really. In my opinion, the whole dueling on bikes thing, I think, was the worst thing they ever did in the Yu-Gi-Oh series. But I just don't like the bike. I think it was using the bikes was pointless. You really like it, which I'm not dogging on you for liking it. I just don't think it was necessary.
I mean, I think an entire universe existing off the soul summoning mechanic is ridiculous, but yeah, I still like the show.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Or the fact that a pharaoh that existed thousands of years ago inhabits the body of a Japanese boy and makes him play card games to settle life-ending or world-shattering events. So,
Yeah, that's
but
fair.
that's the beauty of it. Just turn your mind off and don't think too hard about it. So, but if I was to create my own Yu-Gi-Oh series, I guess my placeholder name would be Yugioh Hyper, because Hyper Duels would be my version of a speed duel or a turbo duel. And the basic setting of the show would probably exist. I would say, well, kind of like a futuristic, like most of them are, but not too futuristic, where the cities are blue and everyone's in flying cars. Maybe as futuristic and modern as Dark Side of Dimensions, how everything was modern but just updated. So if you ever seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Zexal, people like literally had like their society was extremely clean. Like they had automated cleaning robots for everywhere. Like they picked up trash and all that stuff. So that modern, but with an amazing look of it, like the Dark Side of Dimensions. But anyways, are people dueling in this show other than for fun? Well, I'll get to that in a minute. But I want to really talk about this dueling mechanic that I had called Hyper Duels. And so basically, you know how we have a side deck in
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh?
Yeah.
So imagine you get to play with your side deck on the side as if it was an extra deck as well in the middle of a duel. So what hyper dueling essentially is that during any phase of the duel, you can give up your draw phase or your next draw phase, but you cannot activate a hyper draw, because that's what it's going to be called, hyper draws. You cannot draw during your turn. So let's give more of an example. Say we're dueling, and at the start of your turn, you decide to give up your draw. Now you don't have to go into a hyper draw immediately or at all. You have to give up your draw just if you were planning on using a hyper draw. You give up your draw and you just play the game as normal. Now during any phase of the duel, your standby, main, battle, main phase 2, end phase, my turn, anytime during my turn, you can conduct a hyper draw. What that is that in order to conduct it, you must pay the cost by 1, obviously giving up your draw phase, and 2, when you go for the draw, you have to banish the top card of your deck face down, and then you go into your side deck, which would be your hyper deck, to draw a card. And by drawing, you basically pick whatever card you want in that side deck and add it to your hand. And the rules would be that you can only do it once every other turn. If you do not use the card, it is banished at the end of the turn that you activated. You cannot activate any other card until you activate that card or you set that card. And if the card is continuous, like a continuous spell or trap or a monster, at the end of the turn, it is banished face down. So every time you use the card, it gets banished face down, so you cannot use it at all. And you're only allowed to play one of that card that you hyper drew into, quote unquote, drew into, out of your entire deck. So you can only play one of it. So example, if you're playing Dark Magician, you can only play one Dark Magician out of the entire deck, and you just add it to your hand at any point. So those are like the basic rules. There are more like restrictions and fundamental rules to it, but that was my idea for a hyper duel.
So there's one thing I just thought of with that. So let me get this right. So say I do my hyper draw, I draw, and I don't use it. It has to be banished correctly, face down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what if I'm playing a banish style deck where where you can banish a bunch of cards and then you have other cards' abilities that allow you to take them back from your banish zone? All right. So what if I just put all the Exodia pieces into my hyper deck, my side deck, right? And then every time I do a hyper duel, I draw I pick my Exodia card I need, don't use it, it gets banished. And then as soon as all 5 of those pieces are in my banish zone, I just boom, get them all back through getting monsters back from my banish zone. Then boom, I have Exodia.
So when they're banished face, most cards that are banished face down cannot be added by any circumstances. So like say there's cards like Return from a Different Dimension, you're able to special summon cards that are banished. But when it's like a set rule in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! Any card that's banished face down cannot be used ever again. So it's literally removed from play.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, so cards that do gain attack for every banished card, face up or face down, in this mechanic, would not get that effect as if it never existed still. But in most Yu-Gi-Oh! Duels, I'm glad you brought it up, when cards do get banished face up or face down, say a monster gains attack based off banished cards, they'll still count. But in hyper duels, they do not count at all. They're gone.
See, because like there are cards like I could picture the card. I can't think of his name, but basically for every his ability is for every banished card you have, he gains 400 attack and 400 defense. So using say that again.
Yeah, it was Grand Maju.
Yeah, that. So that would be playing just a Grand Maju deck apparently, where you can just you hyper duel, you don't use it, you banish it. You hyper duel, don't use it, you banish it. That would make him extremely broken.
Yeah, so you can only activate it every other turn. So if you activated it on my turn, you can't activate it on your next turn, but you can activate it again on your turn or on the next following turn if you want to, or you can just wait till it's your turn again.
Well, still, with the way like games go these days, it's still every other turn. If you do have that card, every other turn he gains 400 attack.
Yeah, but those attack boosts will not count because it's a hyper duel.
Yeah,
but the reason why I did say you can only play one of that entire card is because I thought about, I was like, what cards would be extremely broken if you could just put at least one of them in your side deck? So you can't play any other card at all under any circumstance. You only play that one. You can play at one. And extra deck monsters do count in going in your normal side deck, and the hyper deck would count towards that, except you cannot summon an extra deck monster unless you move a card out of your extra deck. Meaning, so let's just say you have a 15 card extra deck, right? And say you have Zeus in your what's it called? Your hyper deck.
Yeah.
You would have to move a card out of your extra deck. Like you just have to summon a monster before you can hyper draw into it and then put it into your extra deck. So say you have a card like a trap card that you want to put face down, it does not get banished at the end of the turn. It doesn't get banished at all until that card is activated. And if it's destroyed, it gets banished face down. An extra deck monster that you draw into doesn't go to your hand, obviously, so it goes to your extra deck. It does not get banished until that card is used. What else was I going to say about that? So say you're not playing a 15 card extra deck, you cannot hyper draw into an extra deck monster. The rule still applies that you would still have to summon a monster out of your extra deck. Think of it as like playing, adding space. Or let's say you don't have an extra deck at all. Oh, then you're just shit out of luck because you have to move a card out of your extra deck first in order to add that card to your extra deck. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so the reason why I thought of it like this is because you know how in every Yu-Gi-Oh series, the main character happens to draw into the perfect card that they need at any given moment.
They always have the heart of the cards.
Yeah, so let's just put the heart of the cards in your hand and make it strategic this time. So in this Yu-Gi-Oh universe, right, dueling is a sport as well. It generates a lot of press energy. It's pretty cool. And since this universe is extremely civilized and structured, because I believe Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush, which is Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, which is the new Yu-Gi-Oh! Series that introduced Rush Dueling, they live in a world where everything is structured, but the main character doesn't like structure, so he wants to make a very simple version of Yu-Gi-Oh! Because our current Yu-Gi-Oh! In the TCG is very structured and very difficult for new players to get into. So this would take place before Yu-Gi-Oh! Sevens, where everything is civilized and structured, so much so that even wars are handled by duels. So you know how people in our world would think of eventually in the future, we handle wars by, we don't even have to fight anymore. We just have like simulators where we fight each other for like properties and stuff like that. This would exist, but it hasn't turned into an actual war just yet. This is just an idea where countries are using duels as a way of a cold war to prove which country is better for what, and for buying and trading and selling things. So the prominence of Yu-Gi-Oh! Sports or D Sports in the series would be their version of a cold war where duelists can duel across the world. And they have their own dual Olympics and everything, which is another version of their cold war until things boil over. And now people want to actually fight, but not with guns, with children card games. And so, what is the method of dueling that we use? Well, hyper dueling. It would come into existence because dual spirits, which I thought was so cool in GX, also kind of peer into the world. So do you remember GX, right?
Yeah, I remember GX.
So you remember how Jaden would end up in the spirit world, or the world where all the dueling monsters existed, right?
Yeah.
So imagine a dueling world, all the cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Every single card exists in their own world that is connected through dimension hopping or whatever. And anytime a serious duel occurs, some of those dual spirits can actually peer into our world in some way, shape, or form as like a spirit. So much so that even some of the dual monsters want to influence the world through duelists. So an example, True King of all calamities is a giant monster, and I heard he's based off the beast in Christianity, like the beast during the end times, or like the devil. So clearly he's evil, and so he wants to use his influence to take over duelists to basically establish his own kingdom on planet Earth. So dual spirits have their own agendas as well, and they're also the driving force between insinuating wars that starts hyper dueling, which is a way for dual monsters to basically utilize their power to get to duelists in order to draw them into the perfect card. Basically how like Atem was able to draw the perfect card because of his own power. Now dual spirits can do that themselves, but it would mostly be themselves that they draw into. So in this world, we duel not on bikes, not on boards, but hyper duels take place on aircrafts. Yeah, we got to make it ridiculous. Well, ridiculous. It has to be ridiculous. We have to make it ridiculous.
I don't know.
Think about it. I know you don't like the whole dueling on anything thing, but you got to make it ridiculous.
Why can't they just keep it simple? Like in original Yu-Gi-Oh, they had the whole stadium to play the card and it pops up.
No simplicity. We have to duel in aircraft.
I mean, I know I was just saying about how like Master Duel, they need to get away from simplicity, but with like, if you're talking about the anime, like just the idea of them riding around while playing cards, I don't know, I'm just not a fan of it.
It's cool. It's still gonna happen though.
I mean, it's your Yu-Gi-Oh world. You can do whatever you want with it.
I just wanted to make a ridiculous Yu-Gi-Oh series. I love when shows are purposely ridiculous, but in a way that's kind of cool and makes sense. So hyper dueling was a mechanic that I really like, and then pairing it up with dueling on an aircraft or a pod or an airspace pod or whatever, I think it's honestly cool, because people sometimes Yu-Gi-Oh slang, when they talk about playing decks, they often say piloting decks. So like you might pilot Virtual World, but next week you might pilot Tri-Brigade as a way to say that you're playing this deck. So when I thought of pilots, I thought of aircrafts, and when I thought of dueling, I thought of dueling on aircrafts, and then thought of making my own mechanic to make it just seem cooler. I was like, yeah, let's make Yu-Gi-Oh on aircrafts and make it into a war thing. Maybe when I make this series, like when I actually start to write it down and like read it over with you and how things work, it would sound a little bit more digestible for you to enjoy. For all our listeners who had to listen to that long spiel, let me know what you guys think about dueling on aircrafts or the idea of Yu-Gi-Oh for all my Yu-Gi-Oh fans out there.
I think they're going to side with me saying it's unnecessary, but I could be wrong.
I mean, if it's unnecessary, it's unnecessary, but it's cool to just, have your own fan ideas for dueling.
Oh, yeah, don't get me wrong. Having fan ideas, there's nothing wrong with that. And look, your mechanic, the hyper duel thing, love it. It's a great idea. The only part I can't get it by is the dueling on vehicles.
Okay, so forgetting about the dueling on vehicles part, how do you like the mechanic? What do you
Well,
think I should add?
I don't think really you should change anything. I think it's a great mechanic. If they actually implemented it, it would take the dueling aspect to a whole new level. The strategies people could use would be off the charts.
Yeah,
Just
now
like if
there's
you
gonna be
like me, you were battling. You might say it's different, but I like to say it's about 50-50 about who wins and who loses. You might say you win more, but like the the name of the deck that you're currently playing?
Dinomorphia or Math Mac?
The one where you negate basically everything I do.
Math Mac. Or
Yeah,
no. Dinomorphia.
yeah, Dinomorphia. So basically, if that would come in handy because if you're playing Dinomorphia and you like to just negate everything I do, I could just do a hyper duel to help myself get out of that pinch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you have nothing in your hands and there's nothing you can do, there is no worse feeling for a Yu-Gi-Oh player when there is nothing you can do because you just have a bad hand.
Yeah, and the strategy of just like applying your extra deck or your side deck into the duel and just making it a bunch of one-ups could have infinite possibilities for dueling. Hopefully, it could be something that Konami actually picks up and obviously, kind of compensate me for. Just saying. But being able to like implement, obviously, we would probably have to put more deck restriction rules. I would personally say, like outside of the show, like outside of my fan show, in that actual tool, I would say for the deck restrictions, your normal deck can't exceed 50 or maybe 55. I would probably say 50 cards in this one.
Yeah, that's a
Because
good
having
choice.
60 cards and then having an extra 15 you can access is kind of broken. And so I would say 50 cards, and then 15 card extra deck, or maybe even a 10 card extra deck. But I would just say 50 cards, maximum. Obviously, extra deck would still stay the same because honestly, I don't want an extra deck summoning mechanic. We have enough of those. We don't need another summoning mechanic, but a draw mechanic would be pretty cool.
Yeah, we do have enough summoning mechanics.
And then literally just being able to fix your hand and stuff. It seems, I like that. I like the idea. Now, if they had to make an entire new card type, like how Rush Duel has their own Rush cards with more artwork and then like a little bit less text or whatever, that would be cool. But I personally, for my show, I wouldn't like make brand new decks. I would literally just write in decks that exist in the actual TCG and then turn them into popular players in the show. We can actually try and hyper duel one day once we have all our cards and everything, and I fully flesh out the rest of the ideas for the mechanics, so it's not too broken. We could definitely try a hyper duel.
Oh yeah, I'd be very much down to try a hyper duel.
Yeah, so
I mean, you probably beat my in it, but it is what it is.
We're still figuring it out. So, but yeah, let us know what you guys think of a hyper duel. I definitely like my idea. I definitely would like to tweak it because I do not want people playing. Oh, that's another thing. I'm glad I remembered. Since it counts towards your draw phase, it cannot be negated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, when you do that, you're not allowed to activate any draw cards for the remainder of the turn, like cards that specifically allow you to draw. So let's just say you
Like
put
Foolish Burial. I couldn't after I do my hyper duel. I couldn't use Foolish Burial.
No. I mean, like you just can't activate any draw cards. So let's say Pot of Desires, right? You activate your hyper draw. You add Pot of Desires. Then you activate Pot of Desires. You can't do that. Now you can add cards from your deck to your hand. Let's say like Fossil Dig. You can add cards, but you can't use cards that specifically allow you to draw after that at all, because that would just be way too broken to chain those cards.
I like to clarify when I said Foolish Burial, that wasn't the card I was thinking of. I was thinking of Reckless Greed.
Reckless Greed.
I don't know why I said Foolish Burial, but I was thinking of Reckless Greed.
I was thinking like when you activated that card, you couldn't activate a card that's similar to it.
Still, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, so there are some things I still gotta remember. You can't draw, like specifically draw, but you can still add cards. But there's probably cards that are freaking broken still. But
is there any cards that you would like ban in this format that you could think of off the top of your head?
I can't think off the top of my head really. I would probably just ban Exodia altogether. No Exodia cards at all. All of them are banned. Oh, I think yes, actually I remember that too. I gotta write that down. Cards that are limited or semi-limited cannot go into the only cards that are unlimited, except for extra deck monsters, cannot go into the hyper deck at all. You have to draw into those cards. You cannot. use any cards that are limited or semi-limited, because that's instant access, and that's not okay.
That's a good rule.
Yeah, that's a really good rule, because literally being able to, like, what's like a limited card right now, like Astrograph Sorcerer. It's a pendulum monster. Being able to just instantly access that because it's a limit 1. No, can't do that.
Or that I can't think of his full name, but now it's something Time Lord, the one I use in my burn deck, where it's
Lord.
0 attack, and if I hit you, even if I like it doesn't take damage, moment it goes to the next phase, you instantly lose half your health. Like if I could immediately draw into that, it'd be kind of broken.
Yeah, but that probably would be limited as well in that format.
Oh, right now it's limit 2 right now.
In Master Duel or just at all?
I think both.
Okay. But yeah, those cards cannot go in there at all. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for our extremely long Yu-Gi-Oh section. Anything else you would like to talk about, or we can just wrap it up here for today?
Well, I would like, because we talked about it before when we were talking about the DC section, about how a lot of the shows were on Cartoon Network and getting rid of some of their older shows and stuff like that. How do you feel about the current status of what cartoons are nowadays? Like, when we were younger, we had, like, the original Ben 10, Generator Rex, Avatar: Last Airbender, all those amazing goated shows. And now, like, I have younger siblings that still watch, like, Cartoon Network, Disney, Nickelodeon, and I watch it with them sometimes. I'm just like, damn, these suck.
I think the payoff, or the amount of effort in some of these cartoons are just not good. I think it's a corporate thing.
Like, well, the remaking all the shows we used to like, thinking like, oh yeah, these kids who were kids in like 2005, 2006, let's remake a show from then for these kids now that don't know the original show. Like the reboot of Ben 10. They recently rebooted Total Drama Island, and it's called Total Drama Rama. Dumbest thing I've ever seen. Those are only two I can really think off the top of my head right now, but I know there's others.
Yeah, I think there was like a whole video on that from like the Round Table. If you guys ever go on YouTube, look up the Round Table. They do a lot of content on cartoons. But I think like the remake thing for shows is kind of not necessarily a cash grab, but you just kind of capture lightning in the bottle again, because a lot of the shows are just not doing as good, and the big money makers need something. They need to do something with those big money makers that they existed long before. I think it's a corporate thing why a lot of good shows never get shown, because they believe that they want to make more easier to understand or less thought-provoking shows, or shows that are just look cute on the surface and just kind of butcher them, like the Thundercat remake.
Oh my god! I saw a preview for that, and I was like, "This is one of the dumbest things I've ever seen." It looked so bad.
Yeah, I didn't watch the 2000 version of it, the 2010 version of it, because honestly, I did not want to watch anthropomorphic cats. I thought it was kind of weird for me, but I heard it was really good. You know, the butchering of good shows. Teen Titans Go.
Oh my god, when Teen Titans Go first came out, I was so upset. 'Cause I remember every year watching the Teen Titans Go to Tokyo movie, watching Teen Titans every single night. That was probably my favorite show when I was younger, besides Ben 10. I was a huge Ben 10 nerd. But still, when Teen Titans Go first came out, I was so livid about it.
Yeah. Despite the fact that the show does well and makes money and is kind of funny, it's still trash.
Oh, yeah. Although I do have to give them credit, because there was I think it was like an hour-long episode, like a special, where they had to go across like the multiverses of all the different Teen Titans. So like Teen Titans Go got to meet the Teen Titans from what we remember, and they also got to meet like the comics versions of themselves and a few others that were just like made for the show. But they were able to go into the original Teen Titans universe, and they'd be like, "Wow, these are like the cooler versions of ourselves." And I was like watching, I was like, "Really? No duh. Of course they're the cooler versions of yourself." Yeah, they're not singing songs about burritos versus hamburgers every 5 seconds.
I understand that they don't like the show. A lot of people don't, and they just keep playing off that. I don't like that at all. But remakes, they got to do something, because they do can a lot of perfectly good shows, or possibly really good shows. Like I believe Harvey Beaks. It was a show on Nickelodeon that had a lot of promise. Nickelodeon was just kind of shafting it off to the side. The creator of Harvey Beaks, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he actually did create SpongeBob, and he actually created Chowder, or worked on creating Chowder.
Chowder was good too.
Nickelodeon's best show being SpongeBob, so obviously he knows how to make good shows. And Chowder.
That's all they show on Nickelodeon anymore is SpongeBob.
Yeah.
That's literally all they ever show. Every hour of every day is just SpongeBob reruns.
But if you guys want to know more about why Harvey Beaks ended up getting the way it did, on why it was a good show, had one season, then it got canceled and stuff, you can go look on YouTube. Creator named Jordan Fringe. He does a really good job on content for cartoons. Jordan Fringe explains the whole process of what happened to Harvey Beaks. But honestly, I kind of wish if they were going to remake shows, they should remake shows that fit the bill of being what they're going for, being like very dumbed down and slapstick. Like Chowder. Chowder is definitely one of the shows that you didn't have to sit there and think about. You just sat there and just watched and enjoyed.
Yeah, it didn't have an overarching story.
Yeah,
like there are certain shows I hope they do not remake. They will just ruin them.
Like what?
Avatar: Last Airbender. If they ever remake that, I will be severely pissed.
I know they were remaking it.
I hope not. I know they had like another series, Legend of Korra, but
yeah, Avatar has his own studio now, but they're making a 3D version of Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I heard they're coming out with 3 more movies.
That as well.
Like they're not going to be like the terrible movie, but they're going to be like fully animated. Like, there's going to be one about Kyoshi, the second to last Avatar before Aang. There's going to be one. I think Sokka's getting a movie, and I think Zuko's getting a movie.
Yeah, Zuko, and then I think Korra was supposed to be taking place over Sokka.
Yeah, maybe it might have been Korra. I don't know. Sokka was always my favorite character, so I hope he gets his own movie.
Yeah, Sokka is the GOAT, and all the maidens in the land. But yeah, there's a lot of shows like Foster's Home. Oh my goodness!
Oh my god, Foster's Home,
bro. That's a perfect example of a show you can just dumb down and just remake instead of destroying the legacy of Thundercats. Foster's Home. The amount of toys you can make off of Foster's Home is amazing.
See, that's one of the shows. It was really good, and I love that show. But I would not mind if they remade that one, because even when I was younger, I knew that show was like, yeah, I mean, it's good, but it's not really like amazing. But don't get me wrong, it was really good, just not like top tier. So I wouldn't really mind if they remade that.
Yeah, I would not mind that either. Obviously Flapjack, that was one of my favorite shows to watch.
Flapjack was pretty good.
I don't want this to be remade. I just wish it can have its own movie series that's taken seriously. Generator Rex.
Oh my god, Generator Rex was awesome. I know they had a crossover with Ben 10 at one point, which that was pretty cool.
That crossover was so late. Oh my goodness.
I remember I think it was like late at night. I remember staying up waiting for that premiere to come out.
If they just make a live action serious movie series, I would love to see that. Seeing Rex and just like seeing like a Mexican American man make it up into being one of the world's strongest heroes, fighting evils and stuff, and just explaining the lore. Love that. Like Cartoon Network did kill, in my opinion. I wouldn't say Cartoon Network themselves, but I think the toy companies that work with Cartoon Network, I believe they did kill action cartoons because action toys did not sell well over time. But first of all, why are we getting rid of shows because toy sales aren't doing good? Because in my personal opinion, I think that's just terrible. Second, why don't you just make better toys?
That's true. Like I remember the ones we had when we were younger. Like they were actually like I'm not gonna say fully functional because obviously a lot of them weren't, but like they weren't cheap. Like all the toys, like when I walk around Walmart and I see like I seeing the toy aisle and all that, all these toys just look so cheap. Like if I flick them too hard, they're gonna shatter.
Yeah, like that's another thing with like industry products. But when I seen like Young Justice and I saw the toys and why Young Justice got canceled because of the toys, like yeah, I'd cancel the show too if you made toys this trash. Like the original Teen Titans, I remember my cousin having like a Robin, and it was a fully actioned toy. It had a retract. You could take the cape off, everything. His joints, all of his joints moved. His fingers moved, and everything. His toes even moved. And I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to make toys like this. What is wrong with you guys? To make a fully actioned character for an action cartoon doesn't make sense. But
yeah, these newer ones, you get a Superman action figure. You move his arm slightly too far back, and the whole thing pops off. It's like no, obviously people aren't gonna like those toys when you use them for 5 seconds and then they don't work anymore.
I even heard that the design philosophy and the time for how long a lot of Cartoon Network shows ran was so it can sell more toys. At first, I didn't make any sense, but now that I'm looking at one of Cartoon Network's old shows being Clarence and looking at some of the toys, first of all, some of these toys that I'm looking at do not move at all. They're just there. Two, I see why they chose this type of design philosophy, being kind of like round and more children. I see why they would go that route, but at the same time, like, it's all about just how you market some of these toys. Because just putting them in McDonald's Happy Meals ain't gonna do it anymore. A lot of these kids have too many places to go to outside of McDonald's. So, and Toys R Us doesn't exist anymore, so
And really, kids aren't really playing with toys too much anymore. Like, I walk around, and all I see is every single kid scrolling on their phone or an iPad or whatever. Like, not trying to sound like I'm 60 years old, but like they just don't play with them anymore. Yeah, why sit there and play with like a toy that you had to pose individually for every single action, and instead you can just sit there on a scroll through TikTok or watch a video on your phone.
And they don't make it like they used to, man.
No, they don't.
It's all changed. So, I do hope these remakes do well if they are going to remake. Honestly, my personal opinion, if they're going to remake another show, they should remake the Saturdays. I've been waiting
for
the
Secret Saturdays. I remember that claw staff thing he had. Oh, that thing was so cool.
Bro, I miss this Saturday so bad. In both the original Secret Saturdays and Ben 10 Omniverse. Oh my goodness.
Really, Omniverse? You really enjoyed Omniverse?
I like Omniverse. It was one of my favorites, honestly.
See, when Omniverse came out, that's when I feel like everything really started going downhill. Because they changed too much. Like, you had original Ben 10, and then you had Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, when he was a teenager turning 18. And then Omniverse comes out, and he's supposed to be like in his early 20s, but yet he looks like he's 15 again. Yeah, but then you have Gwen and Kevin 11. Kevin 11 is supposed to be the same age as them. He has a full-on beard. Oh, I mean, not really goatee, but then Ben looks like he's 15.
I don't want to hear you talking about full-on beards, Mr. Nordic man.
Yeah. But still, they're supposed to be the same age. Kevin 11 has a goatee beard-ish thing going on. Ben looks like he's 15. It's like that's. I'm not even going to get into it, but that's when I think cartoons started going downhill, around that era.
I like the look at Omniverse. If you're going to make action cartoons look like Omniverse, I have no issue with it. The eyes are very simplistic in being one color. The shape and dynamics of the character are not all the same. The colors of each character pop out and stand out. I just love the look of Omniverse. I remember watching it before it was like on Hulu, just like coming out every morning before I went to middle school, and I enjoyed it. I was like, "Yo, this is Ben 10. Wow, this is all." I liked he went to different universe or different planets and everything. He had his own. It was like a buddy cop and everything. I loved it. So I like Omniverse. The first few episodes kind of was a little rough, trying to like watch it a third time, but once I got past that, it was pretty cool. So I like it. And Gwen. Wait, never mind. I retract my statement about Gwen. I'm pretty sure she's like. How old is Gwen? She's supposed to be in her early 20s too, right?
In Omniverse, I want to say she was maybe like 19, 20. I can look it up really quick. But I know in like Ultimate Alien, Alien Force, and then obviously in original Ben 10, she was definitely under 18.
Yeah, but Omniverse is the show. Secret Saturdays need to be remade. I want them to remake Secret Saturday. It was definitely a really good show for me. In terms of like look. What is else? Oh, I wish they would have did Kids Next Door remake.
So apparently in Omniverse, they were all 16. But that doesn't really make sense of the timeline, because at the end of Ultimate Alien, I'm pretty sure they were like just turning 17, 18.
I think it's like its own little branched off universe, I think. Maybe, I'm not entirely sure.
See, if it was a branched off universe, then that's fine. I can understand that, having different art styles, different universes and all that. But if it's supposed to take place in the same universe and all that, don't like it.
I think because they often had flashbacks to Ben as a child, and so I'm not entirely sure. It doesn't matter.
I don't know.
But it is what it is. The new show, trash. But I'm just hoping that they do better. Anything else?
No, I think that's gonna be it for today.
up. Thank you guys for putting up with our talking today. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, share, and rate our podcast. We don't ask much. This is the best as we can ask for you guys. It is free content we're providing to you, and all we can ask is you guys give us some free exposure. I would love that.
If you have any ideas about what we should talk about, leave a comment. If we like your idea, we'll talk about it. That's all we got to say.
And we will shout you out because you deserve your credit as well.
Yeah, if you got a banger idea for, like, with Bryt's his new dueling mechanic, Hyper Duel, you think you got something better? Let us know. We'll discuss it.
Please tell me you guys got something better.
Please don't. If you have something better, please do not put it on a vehicle. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, please don't put. Yeah, just have a normal standard standing duel, and have two people just stand menacingly at each other as they fight for the fate of the universe, which they can't obviously do on a freaking aircraft anymore. But that is it for today's podcast. Yet again, I will repeat: please like, comment, subscribe, share, rate this podcast to anybody you feel will like even one segment of what we posted today. With that being said, have a nice day.
See ya.